Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here, and thank you for joining us live as well. It's Sunday, May 7th. May is one of my favorite months. I love this time of year, and it's just a beautiful time of year, and it really got me thinking lately about hope, because I just finished the 21-day meditation experience from Deepak Chopra and Oprah. I know I mentioned that on one of our Wednesday What segments, I think about 3 weeks ago. So I hope some of you were able to do that as well. It was just wonderful. Periodically, the Chopra Center sends out the 21-day meditation experiences. They're free for everybody. They're $50 after the experience is over. But it's just a wonderful time. And the topic this time was hope in uncertain times, which really seemed very applicable to what's going on in the world. There are a lot of people that are very concerned about the uncertain times that we have going on in this country and truly around the whole world. And so they talked and brought us through all of these different aspects of hope. So we're going to really delve into some of that today. What is hope, for one? How can hope impact your life? Have you ever felt hopeful, really being full of hope? Have you ever felt hopeless, feeling like you're just empty and you don't have that hope inside? I like looking at the terms of the words sometimes, that hopelessness, hopefulness, and meaning that you can add that fullness back in whenever you want. So if you feel like you're hopeless, let's work on figuring out what hope is, how you can grasp it, and how you can fill yourself up with that hope. I also wanted to make just a quick announcement too. In 2 weeks, so next week is Mother's Day, we're going to be talking about the nurturing aspect of the mother within. Whether you're male or female, we all have that mother and the father within us. And so tapping into that nurturing, mothering aspect within yourself and within the goddess aspect and the different archetypes, and however you want to tap into that nurturing aspect, we're going to be really delving into that next week on Mother's Day. The following week, which is May 21st, we're going to have our first guest speaker here too. So Deanna Zayats is going to be our guest speaker. We're really excited about that. And you may notice we have a new location this week, so we might be coming here quite a bit in the future. We're going to see periodically how we're going to be working some things out on this end. I hope you enjoy the journey with different backdrops as we go through these next few weeks. And looking forward to having Deanna come on the 21st. So feel free, if you'd like to join us in person that week, just let us know. We can get the address to you of where we will be that week. And now we will get into talking about hope and how hope can really change your life. Hope can feel like a vague concept sometimes, or sometimes it can feel like it's what just fills your soul. Sometimes it feels like it's what fills your spirit. The definition from Webster, the definition of hope, it has a couple different parts. One is to cherish a desire with anticipation, or to want something to happen or want something to be true is one. Sometimes we're hoping for something.
Like a verb.
Exactly, and that actually gets to one of my next points, which is great, and that's an intransitive verb. The transitive verb definition of it is to desire with expectation of obtaining fulfillment. And I think sometimes when we think of hope on the action level, we're thinking about desiring it with that expectation of being able to fulfill it. And Webster said, I hope she remembers would be an example of that. I turn it into a little bit more of an, I hope to gain this, or I hope to be able to increase this. I hope to be able to impact some of you learning how to find hope in your life.
To have more of.
Exactly. And I expect that would be able to happen because I have faith in all of you.
Because you have hope.
Believe it. And then the third aspect is to expect with confidence. So another example Webster gave is, your mother is doing well, I hope. And so it's that expectation, and it's not, I hope this happens, it's, this is happening, I hope. You just add that on.
It's faith because you don't know, but you're hoping. You're pretty sure it is.
Exactly.
Okay.
One of the things I really liked that you already said was when Oprah said, turn hope into a verb. Really make it a verb in your life. And if you add hope with belief, then you can turn it into a verb and you can make anything you want to happen in your life.
As long as you focus on it.
Exactly, because thought is energy. And so when you're thinking something and you have that belief in it and you have that hope, then you're going to create it because you're already creating it on this higher level. You're creating it on an energetic level. We are all electromagnetic energy. We're full of water. Water is a huge conduit for electromagnetic energy, electricity especially. So you put all those things together, you think something, you're creating it energetically, and you're drawing it down and down and down to you. So hope and know that whatever you want to have in your life, you can have. And the more you think about it, and the more you're hopeful as you're thinking about it, and you add that belief to it, and you turn hope into a verb, then you're making action happen in your life. Because even as you think and you create on a metaphysical level, you need to put action in your steps to make things happen.
Yeah.
And so you're turning that hope into a verb and just running with it. And you can do anything. You can change your world through hope. So turning it into a verb, hope and belief equals a positive change in reality. So truly, we can also equate everything into math. You take hope plus belief and you equal a positive change in your reality. So figuring out what it is that you want is,
a big one.
The first part of it too. And narrowing down, if you've been working with those gratitude boxes that we've been talking about for the last several months, then you might start seeing patterns of what it is you like. Sometimes people have a hard time figuring it out. Actually, I was just talking with you last week about how I'm happy at the point I am in my life now, because when I was younger, I had a hard time pinning down what I liked. A lot of times, if there was a decision to be made, then I would just say, oh, I don't care. I'm good with everything. It doesn't matter. I like everything. Everything is fine. And now as I'm getting older, I'm realizing I kind of like this a little bit more. I really like that. I don't care for that as much. And I just had a realization recently that I really found what I like. And so when you figure out what you like, and if you feel like you're not sure, then look in that gratitude box and see what things keep popping up as you finding the greatest joy in your days and finding the greatest gratitude. And you'll see that pattern to let you know what it is you really like. And then you can start building upon that, and you can have that hope and that belief and create that positive change so that your life just explodes with hopefulness.
Well, and on the other side of that, just on the idea that if things don't seem to be going where if you have a direction you want to go, and then you go back and you look at all the things in the gratitude box, and that can tell you where your focus is.
Yes.
And so if your life's not going in this direction, and everything you have in your gratitude box kind of points at focusing on this stuff, you might want to start thinking about, maybe I'm focusing on the wrong things.
That's a great point, absolutely, because sometimes we can write down things that we like, that we do find joy in, but it's not
The
that
right direction.
we're trying to pull this way. And just like when you're driving a car, if you're looking at the car's going to go whichever direction you're looking. So if you're writing down gratitude about several things and you feel like those are things you've always been grateful for, that you've had for a long time, but you're really wanting to draw more in, then start seeing where you can pull that in, turn and face that direction, and start pulling in the joy in that direction. Right, and it might start with small things too. It might even start with your first gratitude is the realization that, oh, you've been focusing here, you have this gratitude, you want to focus here, and you just realize that, so you're writing it down and you know you're drawing that to you now. That could be the first step of that.
And then you can have hope that you're going to go in the right direction.
And believe it. Absolutely. Yes. Hope really starts with you. It starts with filling yourself up first. And when they walked through the meditation journey, they talked about how the first week was all about filling yourself with hope. And they started it at a level of assuming a lot of people are really not feeling a lot of hope right now. A lot of people, I know you've talked about this a little bit lately too.
Yes, absolutely.
And feeling uncertain and feeling uneasy and worried about the political climate, the social climate, the environmental climate, all of these things that seem to be in flux. And part of what is concerning is there's a lot of uncertainty in all of this. A lot of people are...
Well, change is always scary, and scary is always negative, so...
It's what we feel. Yeah, it really is. A lot of people feel it. And even though it's not the reality, it feels like that.
Well, it's scary.
Right.
I mean, any change. Even, I mean, if you're changing in a way that you think it's going to be better, then it's not nearly as scary, but even that comes with its own set of, fears. And, but when it's changing to some way that you're pretty positive you're not going to be happy with, then that adds so much anxiety and so much more fear to it, especially that you add the unknown and the fact that you're afraid that the unknown is pretty much you're absolutely sure in your mind that it's going to be something that you don't want, so that's doubly the fear.
And then if you stack on top of that the feeling of helplessness. A lot of people right now, it seems like, are not only feeling uncertain, uneasy, and that loss of hope, they're feeling helpless because they feel like a lot of these big changes and these big things are out of their hands.
Yeah.
And so that really can compound.
Which is where, well, the hope, bringing the whole world together in hope would be a good thing, because, I mean, if you bring everybody together that wants the change, if they literally all came together, there's no way the change would not happen for the better.
Exactly. And we've seen that in so many different examples, so many different times in history where groups of people would gather and say, we've taken this for long enough and we're done.
And change
and
does
they
happen.
come together and change happens. And it starts with usually one individual.
Somebody with a good voice.
And it really truly starts with and it truly starts with each individual making that decision inside too. Making that decision, knowing within you what you want, and knowing that you're tired of feeling this way. You're not going to just succumb to whatever happens to you or whatever you feel like is, it starts with that, realizing that change does happen with you. It just happen within you. And then you have to raise yourself up with a little bit of confidence. And that really is starting, if you think about it, it's really starting with kindling hope within yourself, pulling out of that despair and that negative talk and that hopelessness, and putting, even if it's just a small spark of hope that you add in there, and you just allow that to kindle, and you realize, what, this isn't what I want. I'm not comfortable with this. I felt like it's out of my hands, but the only way to change it is if I decide I want something different. I want something better. And even if you're just picturing it within yourself, within a small pocket of your world, and you kindle that hope and you allow it to start to rise, and then you allow yourself to really start to feel like that's growing within you, and you fill yourself up with that hope, and you recognize even the small good things that are around you. And then once you get that hope going bigger within yourself, then you can start to recognize you can spread hope to somebody else. Because when you're around somebody that's feeling hopeless and that's negative and that's very uncertain, and you talk, then that's kind of drawing that down a little bit. But then if you're feeling that way and you talk to somebody who's a little bit more hopeful, who feels like we can change things, how does that make you feel then?
Yeah, absolutely, more hopeful.
Exactly.
In the outcome and the distance. I think a lot with the hopelessness, a lot of we get caught up in the moment. We get caught up in what it feels like today is, and that if today and tomorrow, 48 hours, everything doesn't change, it just kind of feels like then it's forever. Mm-hmm. And when I think we lose the sight of how fast time goes, and I mean, in history, it's so funny. In history, there have been so many times that things looked so dark and things were so uncertain and all of that. And it always turns out okay. I mean, there'll always be downs, but then, and with the downs, there'll always be ups. And so, cherish the good times when they're here. And then you kind of have to battle through, uncertainty, and you have to battle through the stuff that isn't what you were hoping for. And, but the curve always comes back. And the nice thing about, if people can remember, is that when everything will always turn around, so that's, whether it's good or bad, eventually you'll go to the other side. So you just enjoy the good times while you have them, and when you're going through the darkness, you know that it's going to turn around eventually.
Yeah, several years ago I had asked a neurologist that I had what he liked best about this country. He'd been here for a few years. I think he'd been here for about 8 years at that time. And I asked what he liked most about America, and it was a really interesting answer. It's a question I have asked a lot of people, but his answer sticks with me more than most. And he said that America is a really interesting thing because it swings in both directions all the time. If you don't like the way the political climate is, that, it tends to affect a lot of people, if you don't like the way it is for a period of time, you can know it's always going to swing back the other direction. And then you might be happy with it for a few years or a period of time, but then it is going to eventually swing back to the other direction, and that makes other people happy. So it's, this balance of back and forth. And he was saying that's what he liked most, because even in times where he felt despair or upset about the climate, he knew that it was going to come back up. It wasn't just one solid regime that was going in a certain direction at all times.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing that's within the country, is that pendulum that will go back and forth. But then it's within us, as we encourage each other to get involved and to be active and to encourage hope within each other. Even that single conversation with somebody, if you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling down, talk to somebody that is up, that has a bit more hopefulness, and allow that to spill over onto yourself, to encourage that to come up within you. And then know that as you start spreading that to others, then you can impact your whole neighborhood. You can impact your whole social circle. If you look around at people, quite often there will be entire groups of people, if you step back and look, that tend to be pretty negative, and then there are other groups of people that tend to be pretty positive, and they encourage that within each other. You can add one person that is different into a group, whether it's a negative person to a positive group or a positive person to a negative group, and it can change that whole cycle.
The dynamic of the entire
The dynamic,
group,
yes. And so you can be that person that adds that hopefulness. And if you don't feel it within yourself at first, then reach out to somebody who does, and know that as we spread and we make our circle bigger and we impact more people with that hopefulness, and with talking about how to make hope into a verb, how to put action in our steps to make the world what we want it to be, not only do we impact our neighborhood and our friends, but we can also start impacting our entire city, our entire state. With social media now, it's easy to impact the entire world, and we can bring up the whole world. And even though it's partly through a conversation level, it's also energetic. And so this is where, when you meditate, I love that they did this meditation experience on hope, because as you meditate, you're sending out that electromagnetic energy, which is raising the vibration of the entire planet, and it's raising the vibration of people that you may not have even met, that needed a little bit of boost because you raised your energy. And they've done studies on some of the great leaders, like the Dalai Lama, the Pope, and several others. I don't remember who else was in the study, but they measured the frequency of their energy field, because the aura typically is about 3 feet around the body for an average person, but they were measuring out how many feet, and it was quite extensive for some of them. I don't remember if it was the Pope or the Dalai Lama. One of those two had the greatest aura as far as its reach of all. Was it the Pope? And you could actually, that's right, because they did it at Vatican, and you could see it sweep out all the way around past the crowds.
Yeah.
Now, it was probably partly the Pope's energy, but it was also that energy of all of those other people that were in the crowds in front of the Vatican, because you add that together, and everybody's energy starts to come up.
And it feeds it.
It does, it feeds it, and there's an unlimited amount of positive energy out there, because when you meditate and you really draw in that hopefulness, you draw in that positive light, then you're increasing your own energetic field, and there's an unlimited amount of that, because you're pulling it in from the source, and from that source of love, or your higher self, or whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it a god or a goddess or the universe, whatever term. Those are all just words. We choose our own words, but it's that, all that is, you draw that energy in, which is limitless. You expand your energy out, and it really can lift everybody. And so I love that study where they showed what an impact his own energy system did. And they studied it there. They also had him privately, and they were checking it in a room where there weren't a bunch of other people around too. And it's just fascinating to know that you have that power within you. Everybody has that power within you to make such a huge difference. And meditation is one of the huge keys of that. Learning to meditate, meditating every day is just an amazing experience. And the more you do it, the more you're going to want to do it. I know for a lot of people starting out with meditation, it's hard to get yourself to sit down at first, and it's hard to get the mind to quiet, and sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating with that mental chatter and figuring out, deciphering the thoughts and being okay with just letting the thoughts go, knowing that as thoughts come in, it's okay, acknowledge it and let it go. You can send it off in a hot air balloon, or you can send it off on a boat, or, you know, if you're visual, or you can just acknowledge it and let it go, which is how you do it. Yeah, but everybody's different, so.
No, absolutely. It
different ways
it
help.
just seems like a whole lot of work to have to take it and put it in the thing, and you light the thing, and you gotta, sorry, it's just me. So,
And that's because you're more analytical.
I'm more process driven.
Exactly. And so, but the more you meditate, the more you'll really want to be driven. I know with this experience, I've been just wanting to stay in meditation constantly because I was doing 2 or 3 of these a day plus my normal meditation too. And so it's, once you get into that, you just want to stay in that meditative state. It's almost like your soul craves it.
Hypnotic.
Yes, yeah. And so if you're struggling with meditation at first, just keep at it.
Yeah.
Be gentle with yourself,
Yeah.
and learn to enjoy and follow that flow. May is meditation month, by the way. I was going to wait to talk about that till after the service, but it did flow in because hope and meditation go really
Absolutely.
hand in hand together.
And baby steps are okay.
Exactly. And uncertainty really is an opportunity to grow and to evolve. Take this in and fill yourself with hope and affirmation. So when you face uncertainty, know that that's kind of a way to look at yourself in a mirror too, to see what these different challenges, what the uncertainty can show you as a reflection about yourself. This was specifically, I liked what Deepak Chopra said on this part. He said, every moment of hope is bringing, I'll start with this part. Every moment of hope is bringing light into your life or others. You know that this is happening by experiencing more joy, beauty, and love. Hope is the engine of consciousness that leads us to enlightenment. Living in the light all the time is enlightenment. Society teaches us that enlightenment is rare or even difficult, but the world's wisdom traditions take the opposite view. Enlightenment is compared to recognizing yourself in the mirror. A dusty mirror reflects the light of you dimly. A clean mirror reflects the light without dullness, blemishes, or distortion. Realization of the self is the essence of enlightenment. And what takes time and practice is clearing the mirror of that dust. Every time that you have compassion for someone who's suffering, every time you take time to meditate, every time you see yourself in somebody else, and every time you accept somebody else just for who they are, you're clearing the dust off of that mirror and facilitating that self-realization into the higher states of consciousness. Hope is the promise of your spiritual awakening, the way a seed is the promise of a blossom. So I really liked that analogy of, seeing yourself in the mirror, because we all have that ability to reach full enlightenment or nirvana, and it's amazingly blissful. There is nothing like that experience of that just pure, radiant nirvana, I guess is
A good word for it.
good word for it. Yeah, exactly. And the more you dust off those shells, you dust off the ego, you dust off the shoulds, have to, can'ts, woulds, all of those different expectations, and you just see life for what it is, and you take people for who they are, and you're not trying to change them or to put a certain face on them, but you accept them for who they are.
Instead of judging them.
Right, and having that compassion for people who are suffering, seeing where you can maybe fill in a bit, where you can have a bit of compassion for whether it's an animal or a person or the environment, filling in that compassion will all help lead you to enlightenment as well as meditation, which is where I think a lot of times that peak of enlightenment tends to come in. Is once you clear the mirror and you've got a good, calm self-assurance of yourself, and you feel that hope because you see that light within yourself, then that reflection becomes clear and you can begin to reach those states of enlightenment.
Mm. basically everything he talks about are the things that are outside of you. Not worrying about how you present yourself, not worrying about how people are seeing you, not worrying about you in the moment, but spending your time thinking about the rest of the world outside of yourself. And it's funny that the best way to be the best you is to not worry about who you are,
Yes.
but just engage the world itself.
Exactly, because you're letting go of all of those perceptions and all of those things that come into us being here in this world, and you're returning to your true state, which is pure energy, pure love, pure light, and there are no suppositions about that.
Yeah.
And so that's a perfect way to recognize that, because it's letting go of all of the things that we come here on earth to experience life in many different ways, to learn different lessons, to interact with people. But when you can do exactly that, and you let go of ego is a big part of it, and what you think you're supposed to be thinking about things, you just shed all of that, and you just live as pure energy and pure love, then you find that enlightenment within yourself, because you're returning to your true nature, because everything within that is that pure core is in essence just pure love, pure light. And so you let go of all of that, you find that nirvana within yourself. And in that you find wholeness of hope too, just full, unadulterated, brimming hope, because you see that light.
Well, and the worry goes away.
Exactly, that uncertainty. That worry, exactly. The self-knowledge is the beginning of enlightenment. And so then we take what you were just saying and letting go of all of that, but then it's that self-knowledge of that core within, of just recognizing that pure love within, turning away all of the other stuff and trying to figure out how people fit together, how I fit with them, how they fit with me, and you just turn all of that awareness within, and you clear that so that you just see that mirror of yourself, beyond the shell of your body, and you see that mirror of who you are at your core within. Self-realization is the beginning of enlightenment. Hope is the promise of your spiritual awakening. Awareness continues to expand and see the self in others, and then seeing yourself in others is the experience of love. So kind of dissecting that. Hope is the promise of your spiritual awakening.
Okay, right.
Awareness continues to expand by seeing yourself in other people, because you have that hope, you see that pure love within yourself, then you take that awareness and you see yourself in others, because we are so much the same, regardless of skin, gender, color, anything. Career, job, status, any of that, we're really all the same. We all come from that source of love and light. I see it like this gigantic ball of white light that's just pure love. When I've gone into that core, it's just overwhelming, that sense of the nirvana and the love. And then I see all of us as coming to the earth as just fingers off of that light. So we are all that white light, and we have these souls, these white light fingers that come off and go into these encapsulated bodies. And so when you have awareness and you see yourself in other people, and you see myself in each of you, and I know that we're the same and we're all equal in that, because eventually we get drawn back up into that source of love. And awareness is seeing that within each other, seeing how we are all the same.
Well, and the same as I've always thought it was amazing that if you take off a fraction of an inch of skin,
we're all the same.
You take a fraction of an inch off of the skin, and you line up everybody in the world, and they're exactly the same. Some are a little taller, a little shorter, whatever, but we're all exactly the same.
And we're all here to learn different things, and we're all here at the core essence to find that awareness and to find that enlightenment too. So learning to have that awareness by seeing yourself, thinking of who do you think of as the most opposite person of you in the whole world, that you just can't even imagine having anything to be similar to you, for whatever reason, thinking of who that person is that you just have a very hard time relating that they would be anything like
your
you.
antithesis.
And so take that image for a moment and then imagine within yourself, seeing that pure light of white love, that pure light just flowing into them. And it's that same source that we all come from. And whether they are showing that love and whether that light exhibits in their life or not, it's still within them.
Yeah.
And that still is that same light that's within you. And you can use that visualization too. If this is somebody that you have a challenge with, or a hard time with, you can use that visualization by seeing them and then visualizing that white light just pouring into them. And then in that you help heal them too. So you're also helping to bring hope to them. It doesn't mean that you have to allow them into your life. It doesn't mean that you have to interact with them in this earthly life, because there's not a need to bring negativity into our lives. We don't need to do that. But you can help heal by just offering that light to flow into them a bit more, and just visualizing that energetically charges that white light to bring them a bit more love, peace, hope, so that they might be able to raise their own vibration. Who knows what lessons they're here to learn on this life. We're all here as teachers and as students. And so, but visualizing that's that same visualization where I'll sometimes walk you during meditation, where you draw that white light within yourself. You're tapping into that source. You can do that for other people. And I haven't really used that as an example during our services, but we do sometimes do where you fill yourself with the white light and then you fill your neighborhood, and it expands out.
Yeah.
So do this with people you have challenges with. If you are needing to go face somebody in, whether it's negotiating to buy a car, or it's, whatever, or challenging where you have to confront somebody on something, before you go to that person, you can meditate first, bring that white light into yourself, and then allow yourself to visualize that white light going into that other person as well. And then that will help sync them with that hope and that peace and that love, to help bring that light into everything you're surrounded with. Yeah, so it can help make that situation much easier.
Yeah.
So
because it's all your perception of how the situation is.
Exactly. And then seeing yourself and others as the experience of love. So in that experience where you just visualize somebody who just does not seem like you at all, and then you realize that we're all the same because we all come from that same source of love. Some tend to stray maybe a bit farther away from love, but maybe that's what they're here to experience. There's no need to judge them. We all have things that we kind of stray from and we come back to, and we're here for different reasons. And how boring would it be if we were all the same all the time?
Exactly.
And so seeing yourself in others is that expression of love, and the realization, experiencing love. Seeing yourself in an object of perception is the experience of beauty. So if you're seeing a piece of art, or you're seeing some type of an object, whatever that object is, if you see yourself in that, then that's the experience of beauty oftentimes. Seeing that pure core of who you are in another object. And regardless, and this is still Deepak Chopra's quotes here, but regardless of the uncertainty around us, life is always unfolding into greater knowledge, love, joy, and beauty. And so it's really realizing that things are just unfolding. Things might feel uncertain right now. Things might feel challenging right now. If you're feeling hopeless right now, then take time to fill that well of hope within you, because it is all energy. We are all energy. Your thoughts are all energy, and you have the power to transmute that, to change that. Using affirmations is a wonderful way to bring that hope back in, and to also send the power out to bring enlightenment and to bring hope and to send hope out into the world. I think most people can use a bit of extra hope currently, because there's been so much uncertainty, too. Sometimes you need to cut out watching the news too. A lot of times when people watch the news too much, then they'll start to buy into, and they feel that hopelessness and they feel the despair, because oftentimes news only reports on
the negative.
Right.
That's what sells.
Right.
That's
and
what
I
gets
don't
people to
understand
watch.
why that increases ratings, because so many people talk about wanting to see the positive out there and wanting to see the positive news. I would like to see a news channel that,
They're-
brought both together and just
Or it was
reported
just
from
facts.
a fact, yes, instead of emotions.
Just facts would be nice.
Exactly.
Just tell me, man. Don't tell me the way to feel about it. Don't tell me the way you feel about it, even. I mean, if they do that, that's fine. But let's start with just the facts, please.
Exactly. Yeah. And so if you are somebody who watches the news, do make sure afterwards that, or at some other point during the day, perhaps not right after, that you take time to filter and you fill in positive affirmations for whatever amount of time you spend watching the news. Fill in positive affirmations as well. You might want to do it after the news too. If you're seeing certain things, you write affirmations to help the issues that certainly touched you the most. You know, if you hear about a tragedy that happened to a family, you can write affirmations about how that family will be helped and how that family will find hope and joy and perhaps learn something more about themselves. Often through tragedy we do evolve and we learn so much about ourselves too. You know, it's after the rain that the sky opens up and shows all of the colors that it can make with rainbows. You know, that opens after we go through. Exactly. And actually it brings me to the next quote that I had from Oprah, which is, everything that shows up in the world shows us who we are or who we choose to be. And then every morning we get another chance to choose curiosity over cynicism. I really like that a lot, because we choose what our thoughts are. We choose what direction we want things to go. Every day is a new start. And you can even do this during the middle of the day too. If you feel like you're just having one of those days, tomorrow's Monday, you feel like you're having one of those days and things are challenging, then take time out and just breathe for a moment. You know, take time and say, I'm changing this. I'm not choosing this. I'm not choosing the chaos that surrounds me. Within me, I find peace. And take a deep breath. And actually, everybody right now, just take a deep breath for a minute. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel like that just cleared all of the...
Makes things better.
Yeah, it just clears your brain. It just resets. It brings calmness, you know, even as you get a little anxiety or you get excited about something, whether it's, you know, good or bad. It calms you and it brings you back into the present moment. And being in the present moment is absolutely the key to finding enlightenment. Because you have to be in the present moment for the enlightenment. But being in the present moment is where we have that ability to choose and to change and to create what we want.
Perceive something different.
Right. Uncertainty is when you're looking into the future.
Or the past.
Exactly. Well,
despair,
hopelessness happens when you're looking in the past. Uncertainty is when you're looking in the future. Instead, just breathe, come into present moment, and realize you have all the power you need within you. It's your life. You can choose.
It's your world.
It's your world. And don't let anybody or any situation or anything take that power from you. Don't let anything wrap you up into the chaos that feels like it swirls around you, because you have that power of your breath. And you can bring yourself into the present moment. And you can rise up above the situation. And when you do that, you can impact your friends, your neighborhood, the whole world. It just spreads out. It's that ripple effect, that butterfly effect. It spreads out.
It does.
And you can impact the whole world. Certainly the Hope meditation experience with Deepak and Oprah impacted me.
Apparently.
But it really does. It's within all of you. And Deepak also said, by living in ever-present awareness, you are being the change that you want to see in the world. And I liked one of the centering thoughts that they had. Each meditation, they would have a centering thought, and then we would have a Sanskrit mantra. And the centering thought on one of these was, I live in the world of my vision. And if you use that as an affirmation, I live in the world of my vision. You think about what you want your world to be, you envision it, you use whatever. Exactly. That's a great affirmation. It's a great thought to have. And the other one that I really liked, they had one of the meditations was titled The Secret of Enlightenment. And that one, they wrote, in every moment of hope, I free myself.
There you go.
Doesn't that make a lot of
Yeah,
sense?
absolutely.
In every moment of hope, I free myself, because you take off those.
Feelings of being chained.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you can let that go. And so you can use your breath. Simple statements like that can release that bondage, release the fear, release the uncertainty, release the despair. And instead you realize you have hope. You free yourself. In every moment of hope, I free myself. I live in the world of my vision. And you realize that you are the center of your world. You can change this. You rise above. You have the power within you. And each of you has that ability to radiate out through the whole world and raise that vibration. And so it really becomes not even just about you raising the hope within yourself, but it's what impact do you want to have on your world? Are you somebody that is contributing to the swirling storm? Or are you somebody that's contributing being that stable rock? Are you contributing raising the vibration up? It comes back to just taking that mirror and looking at yourself, when it comes to the core of it.
Sometimes you have to say the mantra of not my circus, not my monkeys.
Exactly. And that's where that core truly is when it comes down to it.
Sometimes, and it's not mine.
Right, and you can't control the outcome
Right.
at all with
Right.
other people too.
Absolutely.
So even as you do affirmations and even as you send out light, you have to let go of that feeling like you can control other people. You have to let go of thinking you will be the one that changes people, and let go of the expected outcome. Don't expect an outcome from other people.
Right.
Expect outcomes from yourself.
Yeah.
Know that you can change yourself in your life. But letting go of judgment, letting go of expectation and responsibility
for
of other people.
Yeah,
you can only be responsible for yourself.
Yeah,
and so when you turn that in and you really take hold of yourself and you really are focusing on, instead of looking at everybody else, but you have that mirror in front of yourself and you're being that best person that you can be all the time, then your vibration is going to raise, and then you can let go of judgment, responsibility, expectation of everybody else, and you're just focusing on yourself. And other people will probably take notice of that, and
Absolutely.
you'll probably start to see some things shifting around you, and you'll learn so much about yourself. You can evolve yourself, and as you raise and as you change, then the water around you raises and changes, and it lifts you up into creating that world of your vision, and you begin living that world of your vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's your life.
And it's full circle.
Exactly. Any other
That's it.
thoughts? Okay. Well, we have a meditation coming up here in just a moment. And yeah,